camera and the hit.
Jesus Christ.
The Minnesota Vikings are entering the Metrodome, the loud Metrodome, and starting the final run toward the playoffs. They are tied for the best record in the NFL, and today they take on the Carolina Panthers. The Vikings defense up front, the key man John Randall. Chris Hovan, the rookie out of Boston College, has played well. The linebackers, very active, very fast. And the deep backs, only 3 interceptions this season. Tyrone Carter makes another start. The Vikings will start from the 40-yard line. Take a look at the Vikings lineup, led by second-year quarterback Dante Culpepper, accounted for 25 touchdowns, 20 passing, 5 rushing. The offensive line, big and strong, led by the center Matt Burke, who's having a Pro Bowl-type season. Good tackles as well. Robert Smith, over 1,000 yards rushing. Chris Carter and Randy Moss having superb seasons. 5 defensive backs in for Carolina on 3rd and 2 out of the shotgun. Culpepper hits Chris Carter for a first down. Slips one tackle, goes down the sideline. Richard Anderson takes him out at the 37. Vikings on 3rd down with 3 wide receivers in the game. Have to get to the 27 for a first down. Culpepper going deep for Randy Moss. Touchdown!
Right over top. Jimmy Hitchcock wanted this matchup. He was looking forward to it all week long.
Hitchcock, the former Viking, was outspoken this week. Upset with his departure from Minnesota. Randy Moss burned him.
I don't know how you can let him get downfield.
Sweet. Burline being rushed. Ball is knocked loose. It's a fumble, and let's see. Vikings have it.
Johnny Randall.
Burline lost 3 last week. Loses 1 here. Smith in the backfield with Culpepper out of the shotgun. Culpepper gets time. Going deep again for Moss. Off his fingertips. It's at 7 and 3 and Detroit at 6 and 4. Muhsin Muhammad in motion. Burline in trouble. Down he goes. Good. 3rd sack of the game.
Back underneath.
Picked up 9 on the play. 3 wide receivers are in. Troy Walters, number 82, shifting. Fake the end around. Culpepper drops it off on a screen for Robert Smith. Big pickup down the sideline. Looking for a block to go all the way, and he does.
Oh, yeah. He can catch the ball, too.
And turn it into a touchdown. Chris Carter had a big block on a 53-yard pass and run.
He bounces up off the he's like the humble bumble.
On 3rd down, pressure from the outside. Down he goes for the 4th time. To Lance Sawyer.
74 yards.
Most in the NFL. That was John Davis in motion. This side comes Robert Smith for a big hole. Smith picks up a block from Moss. Goes down to the 36-yard line.
Last year, Matt Burke has really played exceptionally well. But Mike Tice is the guy that gets them going. 22-yard pickup on 1st down. Culpepper looking downfield. Finds a wide-open Randy Moss. Slips one man and another to the 13-yard line. Just don't let him outside you. 2nd and goal for the Vikings, still with 3 wides. Faking the end around, they go inside for the touchdown. Robert Smith. Moss was the decoy that time. Moss was the decoy on the end around. Eric Davis trailed him on the play and ran right by Robert Smith. He makes plays in the backfield. On the delay, Brad Hoover, good hold, a good run. Bates is split out to the right side. Hedrington, the lone setback. Short drop by Burline. And it's intercepted by Robert Tate. Oh, that hurts. They rule him down. First interception of the season for Robert Tate, 2nd of his career. On 1st down, it's Robert Smith with another big hole. Out to the 28-yard line. The sidelines, they just say catch. Spotted at the 42 on 2nd and 2. Culpepper being rushed. And down he goes. Mike Rucker. With 12 seconds to go, Vikings have 4 wide receivers in. Culpepper gets time and gets it to Randy Moss. Vikings go from the shotgun, 3 wide receivers in, 5 DBs for Carolina. Culpepper gets time and goes deep down the sideline. He's got a man, and it's Matthew Hatchett. No, it's Chris Carter. It's Carter. Eugene Robinson Robinson, two veterans going at it, and Carter wins that battle.
The system that goes along with it.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. I'm Ted. With me are my usual gang of suspects, Drew Bunning and Christopher Kaiser Sose Gates. Vikings win an overtime thriller, 34-28. The thriller called by the vanilla Vikings coach. I don't know what to call this game, man. The Vikings win 34-28, Drew. Wow. Just wow.
You can say what you want about being a Viking fan. A lot of it's probably not good, but damn it, they have some exciting games, don't they?
It isn't boring.
That game had every twist and turn, every mistake, every good and bad, and just meltdown and this and that. And I still was thinking we were going to lose, and Kirk Cousins got us down the field and made that. You know what? Osborne has sealed his identity place with me on this team. That guy's money, dude.
Yeah, it was damn near a Shakespearean tragedy until it wasn't, Chris.
It certainly was. I mean, Kirk Cousins led not one but two game-winning drives today because they should have won it in regulation in the first place. But
yeah,
but we talked about. We all saw that I had my birthday last week. I turned for a few weeks ago. I turned 45. This team's aging me to the point where I think I'm in my 70s now. After watching these past few games, there is no team that gives you more entertainment value for your dollar than the Minnesota Vikings do.
No, you get more bang for your buck than you would if you were going on a rocket ship with Bezos or something. I don't know, man.
Bang for your buck.
Kirk Cousins goes 33 of 48 for 373 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sam Darnold does not, because he was absolutely terrible. Yet the Vikings still found themselves in overtime at the end of the game. Where do you want to start, boys? I'm game for anything.
Dude, where do you start? This is like starting out with trying to figure the games out in Squid Game. It's like impossible, man. I mean, I was sweating cold cuts and everything else during that. I don't know where you start with this game. Offense, defense, craziness.
I mean, it sort of felt for a while.
Can we start with this?
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody tuning in today and watching. And Ted has that look on his face like he's going to give out a prize.
We're going to give out a prize. I'll tell you what.
Thanks for everybody tuning in. I just want to say thanks to the people tuning in. Go ahead, take it.
Yeah, we got a lot of people tuning in. Thank you so much again for watching us. This game started out well. Very first play of the game, Sam Darnold goes full New York Jets Sam Darnold, and Bashaud Breeland picks him off. And the Vikings are set up on the 25, I believe it was, and they don't score a touchdown. They end up kicking a field goal, and I think I tweeted out, man, against a defense as good as Carolina's, you really got to go for a touchdown there, because they had like 4th and 4 from the 6, I believe it was, and they decided to kick a field goal. Were you guys okay with that initial call by the Vikings to kick and take the early points or not?
I was okay with it.
You were?
Yeah, I mean, we thought the Carolina defense was pretty solid, and it was. And when you're going against a solid defense, you take the points where you can get them. I don't want to sound completely disrespectful, but if we were playing Detroit or something, yeah, you totally go for it there. But against a defense that you expect to be pretty solid like Carolina, I had no problem taking the points there.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have gone for it. I didn't think the Vikings were going to put up 34 points today. I didn't think they were going to put up 28 in regulation. I just thought points were going to be at a premium, and I thought that call would come back to haunt them. And it kind of did.
I had that feeling that you had right there, Ted, when they had the second field goal. I looked at Ruby. I said, there's 14 points. It just turned into 6. Mm-hmm. That's when I started having a problem with, what are we doing? We're petering out. We got to be getting these touchdowns. The first one I didn't have a problem with, but the second one was a pattern setter.
Well, and then it was all right, fine, whatever. And then the Vikings fumbled, and gave the ball back to Carolina, and Chuba Hubbard went in and scored relatively easy. And all of a sudden, it felt like the Vikings were sort of outplaying Carolina up until that point, but now they find themselves down 7-3. God, and then they go, like you said, they had another opportunity. They got in the red zone again and did not score a touchdown, and they kicked a field goal, and it was 7-6. And it just felt like it's going to be one of those games where the Vikings are going to be playing catch up all day. Chris, were you kind of feeling that way when they kicked that second field goal?
I kind of did. I kind of felt that after the fumble from Jefferson that the Panthers turned into a touchdown. Because if you're gonna turn turnovers into field goals while your opponent is turning turnovers into touchdowns, things are generally going to go pretty badly. But after that, the Vikings defense really stood up for most of the rest of the game until the very last drive of regulation, when we can get into that a little more later on. But I kind of got that feel that we were going to be playing catch up, and we were for a while. But this game was just so crazy and back and forth that it's really tough to quantify a lot of it.
So we're sitting there, and now it's 7-6, and then the Vikings kind of they kind of find their footing offensively, and lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Herndon scored a touchdown. Chris Herndon, what a great trade!
Say what?
Hey, that guy's averaging 1 touchdown per reception. That's pretty impressive.
You can't get much better than that.
That's a steal for a 4th round pick. I'd have given up a 2nd rounder for him.
All he does is catch touchdowns.
Chris Herndon Carter.
Yeah. So the Vikings go back down, and they answer, and they had not been playing good football up until that point, but that was a really solid drive. Drew, go ahead.
I would say I wasn't happy about going for 2 at 12-7. I'd have kicked an extra point.
You would have kicked me. I was getting ready to ask, what would you have done, Chris?
I think I would have kicked the extra point there because, Carolina's defense was still playing pretty well.
Yeah.
Up to that point, and I think it's too early in the game to be trying to chase points and whatever. So, I would have kicked the extra point there, I think.
I thought Cook had it, and then AJ Bowie just made a heck of a tackle.
He did.
I thought when Cook hit the outside, I thought, oh, nobody's going to catch him. He's too fast. And Bowie just sort of dove and made a heck of a play. I can see both sides of the argument. I think I would have kicked. I think that's still kind of early in the game. I mean, that's what second quarter, I believe. And I don't think you need to be chasing, especially when you're ahead. I don't think you need to be chasing that point that early. But they did, and they go down, or they go up 12-7. So now Carolina comes back, kicks a field goal. It's 12-10. And this game just settled into this it was terrible football. It was absolutely terrible football for the most of the second and third quarter. If you're a Vikings fan, you're looking at 12-10. Vikings are up 12-10 with 4 minutes to go. I wrote this down.
Terrible drive.
With 4 minutes to go, Sam Darnold at that point in the game was 4 out of 14 with 43 yards and that interception on the first play of the game by Bashaud Breeland. The Vikes go 3 and out. Kirk, the ball slips out of his hand, and they have to punt. And then the Panthers out Vikings the Vikings because they've got the ball with like 2 minutes left. Because we're towards the end of the half, and you're thinking, can the Vikings finally do something at the end of the half? Short answer is no, they could not. And the Panthers made the Vikings 2-minute drive look like something that Joe Montana and Bill Walsh would have been proud of if the Vikings had been in charge, because Darnold calls back-to-back timeouts, which is a penalty. You can't do that. That's a delay game. And then they get called for a holding penalty, and they were in field goal position. So what could have been a 13-12 halftime lead is a 12-10 Minnesota Vikings lead as we go into the locker room. What were you guys thinking at the end of the first half?
I was thinking Zimmer was admiring how they were doing it. He loved it. He thought they're going full me right here. They made a lot of mistakes on that one drive, but right at the 11-minute mark of the second quarter, when it was 12-7, the Vikings had like 4 series in a row that were absolute garbage. I don't think they got more than 10. You can't do that. You can't be that inconsistent. And I know Carolina's defense was pretty good, but at the end of the game, we got 500 yards today. So
and we say this every week. The Vikings win the coin toss and they defer to the second half, and they do that ostensibly so they can attempt to double up, get the last possession before halftime, get the first possession after you come out of the locker room for the second half. I don't know what, because Carolina wound up giving them the ball back at the end of the first half. I don't know what the hell the ensuing drive was. It was awful, whatever happened there. Then they went 3 and out at the beginning of the second half again, because that's just what the Vikings second half offense did until after that drive when they decided to kind of turn things up a little bit.
Dare we say it? Carolina was dumber than the Vikings, Ted, today.
They were. And not only do they go 3 and out to start the second half, Christopher Gates, the Vikings had said, hey, this is what we're going to do. We are going to get our second half offense moving. We are going to script our plays coming out of the locker room, just like we do to open the game. So we'll be sharp and firing on all cylinders and bang, bang, bang. The Minnesota Vikings were facing, I wrote this down, 3rd and 26 on their first set of scripted plays, one of which was a holding penalty. And I don't care what anybody tells me, they scripted that holding penalty into their list of plays.
That was the worst damn script anybody's seen since Godfather 3.
Oh,
seriously,
rim shot. Now you're sweating cold cuts. That'll bring it out, baby.
I don't know what the hell was going on that drive. And Kirk Cousins tried to throw one away. He wound up throwing the damn ball backwards and out of bounds. So that's a lateral. So
yeah,
I don't know what the hell they were trying to go for there. It was bad.
And so that first set of scripting plays got them minus 8 yards. They completed a pass on 3rd and 26, make it 4th and 8. They punted it, and then the Panthers again couldn't get across midfield with 2 defensive holding penalties. Gave the ball back to the Vikings, deep in the Vikings territory, and then it was the here we go. Carolina blocks a punt, runs it in for a touchdown. First time since 1998 they've done that, 23 years or whatever it is. And now all of a sudden the Minnesota Vikings are down 17-12, and it just sort of felt like this game was starting to careen out of control. Did you guys think that, or did you think there was still a very winnable game at that point?
I felt it was a little bit of the Viking gloom starting to set in, but I didn't really feel too bad about it because they have shown a tendency this year to bounce back from the gloom. They not to say they've been perfect, but the gloom hasn't rolled over them and completely changed the momentum of a lot of games like it did last year. So I felt that they did regroup, and did Carolina give us this game, or did we beat them? I mean, that's
a legitimate question.
Made a lot of the mistakes. That fumble by the wide receiver came at a perfect time when Kendricks got that. It just seemed like they were doing the things we complain about every week, but I didn't feel it was out of control at that block punt. I didn't.
Chris, what did you think?
I kind of had that feeling because, like you said, that this was the first block punt taken back for a score by the Panthers in like 23 years or whatever it was. And, we talk about the sort of stats that the Vikings are on the wrong end of, that only the Vikings could be on the wrong end of. And that just seemed like one of them. And, it did kind of have a here we go kind of feel to it. But to the Vikings' credit, they bounced back with a really nice drive to take the lead back. I got to give them credit where credit's due.
Yeah, it was, and I will say, I thought this is Drew and I, Drew, sir, we've talked about this. There seems to be always, almost every week in games that Vikings lose, you can look back on one pivotal play. And it felt to me like that punt was the play that would completely flip the script. And Zimmer would start going to his laminated sheet of mistakes, like you so famously called it. On one of our recent shows. But to the Vikings' credit, C.J. Ham on the ensuing drive, C.J. Ham had a huge run. Tyler Conklin had a big catch and run, and the Vikings went down and they I believe it was they scored a touchdown. Dalvin Cook was they had that deep shot down to the 5. Oh no. And then Thielen caught that ridiculous touchdown to get them.
How about
that was insane. That dude cannot. Or no, I'm sorry. That ensuing drive was the Dalvin Cook run to get them up 18-17, and then the next drive after that, the Panthers punted, and Thielen had that unbelievable touchdown catch to put them up 25-17. That's when I sort of thought the Vikings would sort of start taking control of this game.
Man, how about that move CJ Ham put on that poor defensive guy? Whoever that,
You know what?
He straight up pulled out the Tim Hardaway crossover on that one. That was impressive.
I got an email about 20 minutes ago that they're going to work on an ABC after-school special called "The Juke of CJ Ham." They're going to make a hour-long. It's going to be on Lifetime or one of those kind of, that was awesome, dude. And he was surprised by it. He's looking around, hauling ass. What a great play.
Did you see the replay? They took a shot from the end zone, and once Ham broke it to the second level and was running free, Kirk throws up the TD sign like, come on, CJ Ham ain't going to take that to the house. He's not, but it was a great thought. I get it.
Yeah, CJ Ham is not going to have a 70-yard touchdown run. That's not happening.
It seems like
but it was awesome.
260 plays in this game, didn't it? Didn't it seem like
it felt like it,
there's a lot of plays in this game. I'm amazed. I'm sitting here in amazement that you can put together all these drives, Ted. I can't remember all these drives, how they went.
Well, they had the ensuing drive after the block punt, Dalvin scored. Then the Panthers punted again, and the Vikings got the ball back, and that was they had a big play to Thielen, and then Thielen caught that touchdown. Go ahead, Chris.
Actually, yeah, I've got the list of plays up here in front of me. After the Cook touchdown was one where the Panthers actually fumbled it back because Darnold actually completed a pass, and Dantzler and Xavier Woods got onto DJ Moore and knocked it away.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It wasn't Snoop Dogg Anderson? It wasn't him?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are so lucky that nobody from Carolina could catch a pass for the first 58 minutes.
Oh, my God, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, Darnold's numbers were awful, but man, his receivers did him no favors this afternoon.
They had more drops than the T-Mobile network, and I'm a T-Mobile customer, so I can tell you that firsthand.
That's a lot of drops.
That's a lot of drops, man. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad, and then after that, Darnold got hit was the sack fumble. Vikings took over, and that was when they were up 28-17. Drew, you had talked about early in the show. Joseph missed that 50-yard field goal that would have made it 31-17, and that probably would have been the dagger. But
that was the dagger.
Yeah.
That was the dagger. That was the. Do you think when Cook had that big run and he fumbled at the end? Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we recovered?
Yeah.
Do you think Zimmer's stopping on the sidelines asking, why did we recover that? Why did we recover that? My first thought is always like he gets angry when things don't go to the laminated sheet of mistakes. No, that was I thought that was it, Ted. If we'd hit that field goal 31-17, it felt like the dagger to me.
Yeah. And so the Panthers come right back and they drive deep into the red zone. They can't score a touchdown. They kick a field goal. It's 28-20. And man, you're thinking the Vikings sort of have this game in hand, but on the other hand, it's the Vikings, man. They just don't make things easy. I don't know of a team that plays more scared in the NFL than the Minnesota Vikings. It just they have this pathological inability to put other teams away. They are better than.
Ted? Why do they do that? You know, and it's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. It's a pattern because it's happened too many years, too many games, man.
Yeah.
Why can't they put their foot on the neck of people?
It seems like we ask this every week, but when was the last time the Vikings just went out and pounded the tar out of somebody?
I don't think Zimmer wants to do that. He doesn't like games like that.
The thing that got me is even it's 28-20 and the Vikings punt and they pin Carolina at, I think it was their 4. And you're thinking, as bad a game as Sam Darnold has had, I just don't see them driving 96 yards.
Right.
And I don't know why I thought that because I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. I don't know why I thought that. I thought, that they're not going to go 96 yards.
Unbelievable. That pass on 4th down is
4th and 10. And it was 42 yards, I think it was.
God, dude. How do you give that up? How do you let that guy get behind you like that?
And it was to a tight end. It wasn't even like it was a speed. Wasn't even like it was a speed guy. How the hell do you give up a 40-yard pass straight down the middle of the field to a tight end?
You know, Ted talks about that one play, the one play that turned the game. If Vikings lose that game, that's the play. That's the play that lost you the game. Man.
Yeah.
Sitting there staring at the set going.
And so then so the Panthers get new life, and they convert. I believe it was another 4th down. And then they hit the touchdown and the 2-point conversion to tie it. And you're like, how did somebody answer me this question? Riddle me this. How did the Vikings go up 28-17 with, I believe it was 5 minutes to go, and end up in overtime to a guy that went 17 for 41 in regulation with not a very good ground game to support it?
I have no clue.
No idea.
You guys are a barrel of fun. Give me an answer.
You know what? It's the culture. It's the culture of the team. They weren't going to win this thing outright and run away with it. No. They weren't. They're going to find. Okay? Let me follow up your question, Ted, with both of you asking you this. Are you surprised that happened? What Ted just said?
No, absolutely not. Because
what does that say about your team?
It's the Vikings.
There you go.
Okay.
I don't know why, Ted, but I expected it.
They don't crush teams when they have the opportunity to crush them. They just don't. I don't know why.
I just when you're up 28-17, and I'll take this back to the first quarter. When you guys were okay with going for the field goal, I believe it was on the Vikings opening drive. That's why I wanted to go for points, because I just had this feeling that this would come back and haunt the Vikings later. And it did. And it just bothers me that when you have a team this bad, or as bad as the Panthers were playing, I think they're better than they played today generally. Because you had a ton of drops. If the Panthers catch half those passes that Darnold threw that were dropped by receivers, I don't know that the Vikings win. But I just don't understand how this team can continually go and put themselves in situations to either have to win the game on a last-second field goal or lose a game that they had pretty well in hand for most of the afternoon.
I don't know. I know one thing. They're good at doing it.
Yeah.
They're good at putting themselves in that position. It's like, I don't know, a laminated sheet of mistakes, Ted. It just feels like when they missed that field goal to have a chance to go 31-17, back in my mind, I'm thinking 28-28 overtime. I'm not even kidding you. I think I said that out loud in the room. I'm thinking, this is it. Here comes the meltdown. When
Carolina blocked that punt and brought it in for a touchdown, I was thinking back to I don't know if you guys remember this game in 2005. It was right after, it was like coming off the Love Boat scandal. And the Vikings got their ass kicked by Carolina that day. Dante Culpepper got his knee blown out, and Steve Smith absolutely clowned Fred Smoot with the row the boat touchdown celebration. I mean, and I thought, man, we're heading towards that again. But it turned out that didn't happen, because once the Vikings got the ball in overtime, the Vikings won the toss and went right down and scored it. And I don't care what anybody says, that was a hell of a throw and catch by Kirk Cousins to KJ Osborne to win the game.
Can people stop with he's not a leader? Can we stop with that now? I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row he's led this team to a victory.
No,
on that last drive. I don't, Cousins, he isn't, just because he's not Pat Mahomes, people, look at his game today. The thing, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that.
Go ahead, finish up.
No, he was having a really frustrating, crappy game in the first half. You could tell he was frustrated. He wasn't having a good game, but look at how he finished it. And that's what you want from your quarterback, is to be able to take a bad situation and turn it good. I was really impressed with Kirk Cousins today. Go ahead.
See, people are never going to stop bitching about Kirk Cousins. The majority of the people who are still pissed off about Kirk Cousins are people who are pissed off that Minnesota chose him over Case Keenum and Teddy Bridgewater going into the 2018 season, and they just haven't quite freaking let go yet. This guy is the best quarterback the Vikings have had. I mean, if you discount the zombie Favre year, that was only a 1-year thing. He's the best quarterback the Vikings have had since Dante Culpepper was swinging it around out there. And it's not even particularly close, but all anybody does is bitch about the guy. And I'm done with it. I'm done with people bitching about Kirk Cousins. He's better than just about any of the alternatives that were out there. And yeah, I'm done with it. shut up about Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, whatever you want to say.
Hey, yeah, there you go. That's well said. Thank you, Chris Gates.
Whatever you want to say about the Minnesota Vikings for 2021, and we can say plenty, and we have said plenty. I don't think you can blame any game for the Vikings getting in this situation on Kirk Cousins. I mean, the dude has played phenomenally well. He kind of iffy the first week, led a game-winning drive against Arizona that didn't turn out because the kicker missed a kick. Played very well against Seattle. Everybody sucked against the Browns. And the last 2 weeks, you know, he didn't play great, but he played okay and got the game-winning drive against Detroit last week and did what he did this week against Carolina. So much going on in my head right now. I almost forgot who we played today.
As a fan, you notice kind of the culture of other fans when you've been a football fan or a sports fan for a long time. And I think people bitch about Kirk Cousins like Chris, going back to what Chris said. I think some people just don't like him. I mean, last year we did a game and he was 23 for 25 and getting ripped on by people. I mean, come on. I don't think people like him. Like Chris said, you're never going to like him. So they're going to point at every single thing he does bad. And then when he does the overtime thing, Ted, well, that's what he's supposed to do. So it's either rip him or that's what he's supposed to do. No credit.
Yeah. Well, so here's a good question from Barris Ford Elliott. About
Ford Elliott.
Yeah. So will you sign Cousins to an extension?
I don't want to get crazy or anything.
I mean, I think it's definitely something that you consider, but on the other hand, he's getting a little bit older. Obviously, I think he's 32, 33-ish now. I don't have his age in front of me or anything. At some point, you need to take a swing at another guy to come in and hopefully be your long-term guy. Is that Kellen Mond? I don't know. He might be. He might not be. But, at some point, whether you sign Cousins to an extension or not, you have to have a plan B behind him, in case he gets hurt. I mean, it seems like he never gets hurt, but that's something that still potentially could happen. But you need to try to take a shot at a guy to keep around for the long term to potentially replace him in the event that he does start to fall off a little bit eventually. So it's kind of it's a balance that the Vikings are going to have to strike at some point, and I hope they can do it. But yeah, we'll have to see how that situation develops here.
Very good question. Very good question too.
Exceptional question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, my honest answer right now is I don't know. When you look at the salary cap going into next year, it's probably going to go up substantially. So everybody that's talking about Kirk's $45 million guaranteed deal next year, I don't think it's going to be as problematic as we were thinking 6 or 7 months ago. So I don't see them moving on from Kirk next year. Can you make an argument to move on from him after 2022? Yeah, you can. But you have to think that Kellen Mond is your guy. And if you're going to do that, then you have to put your full faith and credit in Kellen Mond and give him absolutely every chance to succeed. You can't bench him after 3 or 4 games if he doesn't start out very well. You can't start him and then bench him, then start him and then bench him. You'll ruin him that way. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but if you look at an extension for Cousins, it's going to be more than the $45 million he's making in 2022. And is that going to be too prohibitive moving forward? I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't know the answer either. I just know, and I'm going to repeat this like I did in a couple live shows ago. That seems like a different guy I'm seeing, Ted. He looks a little bit different this year. And he had one play where he kind of got pissed off in the backfield after an incomplete pass. I think he was angry at himself, which was good to see. I think he threw some F-bombs out there, but I want to point to something in particular. On that overtime drive, he rolled out of that sack. Remember that play? When I thought for sure he was going to go down like a sack of potatoes. Mm-hmm. He rolled out and then ran like 15 yards up to the 45-yard line for a first down. Now, the Kirk Cousins of last year, Ted, is either dropping to the ground and taking the sack, or he's throwing it into the ground. He's throwing it away.
Yeah.
He's not taking off and running. That's I know it's only one play, but that's what I'm talking about when I say he looks a little different to me this year.
He does. He does. And he's looking more to extend plays than to just give it up and live to fight another day. And that's a prime example. All right, before we go any further, want to make our first jersey announcement, our prize winner. So during the week, we said, hey, we got a Fred Smoot jersey to give away. So we thought about how we were going to do that. So I purposely mentioned that Carolina game back in 2005, and we all agreed that the first person to mention Fred Smoot in the comments was going to win the jersey. So Ted Bertrand, congratulations. Near as I can tell, you were the first person to mention Smoot in the comments. Email Vikings Report, Drew and Ted at gmail.com. We'll get you the jersey out headed your way. So congratulations. Nothing like a Fred Smoot jersey giveaway after a Vikings win on a Sunday, in my opinion. I don't get much better than that.
Ted Glover.
Yes.
Is it safe to say, if we have a Fred Smoot jersey or in our prize vault, we have the best prize vault in the NFL?
It does not suck, much like the Vikings end of the last 4 minutes of this football game, excluding overtime.
Good for you, Ted Bertrand. Enjoy that Smoot jersey. I hope you get some in it.
Take that Fred Smoot jersey, go running through the okra patch. Have at it.
Go get a lap dance, buddy.
Better yet, take it out on a boat on Lake Minnetonka. You're guaranteed to have a good time.
There you go.
All right. So look, this is the second week in a row where I don't want to say I'm mad about the Vikings winning, because a win is a win is a win, and it's tough to win in the NFL, and I get that. But the Vikings are now 3-3. They beat Detroit and Carolina off two really bad performances by both teams, but they still managed to beat them. They head into the bye at 3-3. Chris, what are your thoughts about this team moving forward at 3-3? Hey, first of all, let me ask you this. Did you think they would be at 3-3 heading into the break, heading into their bye? And where do they go from here?
I kind of thought they were going to be around 3-3 when the schedule came out. I think we all thought some of the W's and some of the L's would have been in different places. Yeah, I think we kind of thought they were going to beat Cincinnati, and they didn't. We probably all had them chalked up to lose to Seattle, and they won. So I think 3-3 sounded about right for the Vikings going into the bye week. But they got Murderers Row coming up over the next 4 or 5 weeks. It's going to be they can't have the kind of lapses they had today that allowed this game to go to overtime against the kind of teams they're going to be playing going forward. Because I don't have the exact sequence in front of me, but I think it's like Dallas, Baltimore, Chargers, Packers. Those are all really, really good football teams.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chargers got smoked today, but they got smoked by Baltimore, no less. But
yes.
There's some really good football teams coming up on Minnesota's schedule. There's no Detroits and Carolinas coming up over the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Drew, so before you answer, the Vikings, they've got their bye. Then they have Dallas at home, at Baltimore, at the Los Angeles Chargers, Green Bay at home, and then at San Francisco. Drew, where do you see this team? A, did you think they'd be 3-3, and where do you see this team coming out of the bye?
I had them at 2-4 going into the bye week.
Okay.
So I'm pretty ecstatic over the 3-3. And let me ask Christopher Gates something. Did you say we can't have any more of these lapses? Do we have Ted, do we have a magic wand in the Viking prize vault? Because if we do, you better give it to Chris. Because this team's going to make lapses. Every week they're going to make those kind of bonehead mistakes. They are.
I said they can't. That doesn't mean they're not going to. I mean, because we know damn well they're going to, because this is the Vikings, and that's just what the Vikings do.
You know, this team's weird, Ted. I don't know how to give you an answer for the next month worth of games. On paper, we lose all of them.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Vikings, are the Vikings just a jinxed 5-1 team? I mean, that Cincinnati game could have gone either way. We should have hit that field goal against. I mean, shouldn't the Vikings be 5-1?
They're a couple plays away.
You know, they're what? They're what? 3 plays from being 6-0. But I would also argue.
I tried to lead into it a lot. You guys making fun of me for that, but I had no way around it. So go ahead, hit me with that.
I would also argue they're just a couple plays away from being 1-5.
That's true. That's true.
You can look at this. You can look at both sides of the coin on this. Yeah, the Vikings screwed up a couple plays that and they could have won those games, but they also damn near pissed away the only game that I think was a convincing win this year was the Seattle game. They could have won the other two or the other three, but they could just as easily have lost two of those three as well.
That's why I can't give an answer on the next month's worth of games, because doesn't it seem like up in the air? How do you know what you're going to get from these guys?
Yeah, I don't. And I'll tell you, we talk about this crucial set of 5 or 6 plays a game.
You got to go like this. That gives people a visual of the crucial
set of plays. All three of us. Come on.
There you go.
Right.
The crucial set of plays. That's what it comes down to.
If they, none of those quarterbacks of those teams we just talked about, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, and whoever plays quarterback for the 49ers isn't going to be 17 for 41 at the end of the game.
No,
they're not going to be as bad as Detroit and want to give the game away. If they play like this, the next 4 games they did the last 2, although they won these last 2 games, they're not going to win any of those 4 games. I don't believe.
I'm not even going to throw the challenge flag on that. That's correct.
Yep.
I mean, it's just they've got a lot to clean up, and once you get 6 games in, I think you kind of are what you are at that point. Are you not?
You are.
Yeah, pretty much.
You are what you are.
All right. Some good things to note today.
Say it.
T. Kubler wanted us to mention Christian Darrisaw, who I thought played a very good football game today.
I thought so too. No penalties. Didn't hear his name much.
I didn't hear his name mentioned either. I know when we were watching the lead up to the start of the show here, there was the one play where he got smoked, but I think it was the play that Cousins wound up taking off and running for yardage for. But that was the only time I saw or even really noticed him all day, and that's for an offensive lineman. That's about as good as you can hope for.
One guy who kind of sucked today, and by kind of sucked I mean he was flat out terrible. Was Ollie Oxenfree Udo. Got called for how many penalties? 21, 22? I think I was tracking it down.
Nice 14-yard run to start a drive. Flag. Come on, Ollie.
So
Ollie, wipe your eyes with this thing.
What Reggie Adams asked this question in the comments. The Barbecue Smokehouse King himself asks, or said, hey, maybe the Vikings ought to think about getting Wyatt Davis in at right guard. What are you guys' thoughts on that one?
Do it.
I would have no problem with that. Absolutely.
I as a fan of Wyatt Davis from long before he got drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, I'm all for that as well.
Oh, he didn't say it. He didn't say it.
I won't mention that he played at Ohio State. Oh, my bad.
He just said it. He didn't say it. He didn't say it. Then he just said it. He just said it. Cut his mic. Cut it.
Yeah, Udo was a major disappointment today, and for as bad as the Vikings offensive line was at times during the game, I thought overall they weren't completely horrible, at least not to the point of the Carolina Panthers today. I thought the Panthers, Drew, we talked about this in the pregame. The Panthers offensive line coming into this game was just terrible, and they lived up to that billing today.
That's exactly right. And I can't believe it's taken 30 minutes for us to talk about that D-line, because I am stoked about our D-line. They look really good today. Fired up, and it's not just the regulars. Look at Watts today, James Lynch. The Vikings defensive line is bringing it this year, and they did better against the run. So, yeah, they're. I thought the Vikings O-line played pretty well, Ted.
Yeah, I have no complaints with it at all. Chris, did you? Who stood out to you besides the O-line? Who else stood out to you today? But we talked about Kirk Cousins as well. Who stood out to you in terms of like maybe getting a game ball?
I mean, I continue to be impressed with the sort of Everson Griffin renaissance that we're seeing. I mean, he was brought in toward the end of training camp. He's going to be a rotational guy. He's going to play a handful of snaps, whatever. Dude's out there starting. I think he's the oldest guy on the team now. I think he's the oldest guy on the team. Yeah, but. Yeah, he continues to get it done. He had that forced fumble on Darnold toward the end of the game that should have helped the Vikings to ice things. But yeah, I think Danielle Hunter gets all the ink, and deservedly so. But the Everson Griffin renaissance continues to be something that just fascinates the heck out of me.
I thought Patrick Peterson has played pretty good football the last 2 or 3 weeks. I thought he had another good game today. He was hurt late, and I saw it mentioned that it was just cramps, and he should be okay. And that's good news indeed, because he went out, and that preceded what happened after that was that big 96-yard drive by the Panthers, especially that 4th and 10, 40-yard reception. If Patrick Peterson is out for an extended time, I think the Vikings secondary might have some problems, because he has been a very stabilizing force back there this year.
Yeah, he has. I mean, I think we mentioned that he's made a couple of what they call business decisions a couple of times over the course of the first few weeks. But as far as coverage has been concerned, it's really hard to argue with the level of coverage he's received. And like you said, he's kind of a stabilizing presence, because the Vikings have a lot of young corners, guys like Dantzler, and Mackenzie Alexander is still relatively young, and Harrison Hand whenever he comes back from the COVID list and that sort of thing. So yeah, he's been a pretty significant presence for the Vikings this year, and it would get kind of ugly, I think, if they were without him for a while.
Drew Bunting, I would argue the best. Last week I said Everson Griffin was the best defensive addition to this Vikings team so far, and I'm still standing by that. But I would argue in the secondary, an even better acquisition than Patrick Peterson has been Mackenzie Alexander. He had a heck of a ball game today, and he has really stabilized that nickel spot, which was just absolutely problematic for the Vikings last year.
Very, very solid. Not only today, but all the games up till today.
Yeah.
Alexander is the guy you've been pointing out to make big bonehead mistakes. He's always around the football. I think he had a great game today. I want to look at just talk about for a second the big change for me on this team. Last year, we probably had the worst interior defensive line in the league. It was bad. Guys, people ran right up the middle on us, and not even a semblance of stopping it. The Vikings have done a complete reversal with the interior of their defensive line. Tomlinson, I know Pierce wasn't playing. Tomlinson, Lynch, Watts, they had a great game today.
Yeah.
And I didn't see us getting gashed up the middle for many runs. And
no.
That I know that's not the real sexy thing to talk about when there's wide receivers and running backs and all this, but to me, that interior defensive line is so much better than last year. I think it's paying big dividends for us. I really do. And I'll mention one thing about Griffin. When you mentioned Griffin, the Vikings had a penalty or something that gave Carolina a first down. They did that a few times today.
Yeah.
On one of those drives, they showed a replay. Everson Griffin was beside himself, yelling at the team, throwing his hands in the air. That's the emotion you got to have. That guy plays with emotion. That guy leaves it all out on the field, and people got to look at him. That's why he's been success in this league this long. Yeah. That's why he's playing. Renaissance is a perfect way that guy is emotional. You got to play with that emotion. And the rest of the team was like looking at him like, chill, dude. But no, you don't want to chill. You want to be mad about it. Good for him.
No, that's who Everson Griffin's always been, though. He's always been kind of the high temperature or high. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for here is, but high
intensity?
motor, high energy. Yeah, high intensity kind of guy.
What if everybody in your defense played with that emotion and intensity?
That would be awesome. That would be great. Yeah.
It's just good to see. It's good to see, but I wanted to mention something, Ted, about the interior of that defensive line, because to me, I mean, that was a game that didn't even have Pearson. He's supposed to be their best interior guy on the defense.
I'm gonna disagree just a little bit. I think when we're talking when it comes to rushing the passer, that they're doing very well. I'm still not sold on the Vikings run defense through 6 games. Once again, they gave about 118 yards rushing to Carolina. Carolina averaged 5.1 yards per carry.
But Darnold got 40 on one freaking carry.
He did.
It's misleading, dude. Misleading as hell.
But I think part of it is, I mean, when Chuba Hubbard was running, he was getting 3, 4, 5 yards at a pop. And I think I don't know why. I'm glad they did. Don't get me wrong. But when you keep passing with Sam Darnold, when he can't hit air if he falls out of an airplane, and go away from a running game that's getting them in very good, manageable down and distance situations, it did make a whole lot of sense to me. Now, when the Vikings needed to make a stop, they did, and they've got some grade A, Angus beef running backs and running games coming up in Dallas and Baltimore out of the break. So we'll see what happens after the break. So let's revisit this. I'm still not sold on them, but you're
no, I'm not sold on them collectively.
Okay.
I'm not sold as a group collectively. I'm talking specifically about the interior on that line. It was so gashable last year.
It was
bad, and I'm seeing a big difference this season. I see them getting off their blocks, not being clogged up as much, and the line of scrimmage isn't getting pushed back a lot like it was last year. Still getting pushed back, still a work in progress, but last year, also they had 23 sacks the entire season. That's 16 games if I remember right.
Yeah.
After 6 games, they got 21. They're only 2 shy of what they had last year.
Wow. That's quite the improvement.
Yeah.
Chris, so now the Vikings head into their bye. What are some things you think they need to, and we've talked about the mental mistakes and God knows they need to work on that, but what's the one area on this team besides that you think they need to really work on and improve coming out of the bye against, I believe it's Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas on Sunday night. I would have to say they need to look at, some of the things that they did on offense today, particularly after they forced a turnover in terms of being aggressive on offense. Because, we talked about that play right after the Cook touchdown where Carolina fumbled and the Vikings took over in Carolina territory. And we're sort of expecting them, like they usually do, just run it into the line a couple of times, see if they can get some yards. No, Kirk Cousins came out and threw a 35-yarder to Adam Thielen to put them inside the 5-yard line. They need to understand that, Cousins is playing some of his best football. They've got Jefferson and Thielen, and we saw KJ Osborne again today. They don't need to play for 3 yards in a cloud of dust all the time. They can be aggressive on offense, and, maybe if they continue being aggressive on offense, they can avoid having to go down to the last second in all these damn games. But, I think that's the one thing they need to look into is how they can be more aggressive on offense and utilize what they have better than they have been in some instances.
Our producer Toons is in the background making all this happen. So we all want to say hi to Toons and thanks. And she asked a question out in the open chat, and I want to ask you guys this because I think it's a really good question. Dalvin Cook ran for 140 yards and a touchdown today. Do the Minnesota Vikings win this game without Dalvin Cook?
No.
Probably
Chris?
not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
You like how I broke that down, Glover?
That was solid. That was fantastic analysis. You guys, your one-word answers are just awesome. So much to work with.
Well, I mean, we've seen Alexander Madison. We've seen Alexander Madison over the last couple of weeks do a solid enough job, but Cook is just a different running back. I mean, you saw what the Panthers did on offense without Christian McCaffrey. They haven't had Christian McCaffrey for 3 weeks, and lo and behold, over the last 3 weeks, they're 0-3 now. The offense is just completely different when you have a guy of that caliber in there. I'm not saying Alexander Madison is bad, but he's not Dalvin Cook, and very few running backs are. So, I think the offense was just different enough with Dalvin Cook in there where I don't think they could probably pull this victory off without him.
So,
let me throw this out there too.
Okay.
With Dalvin Cook, it's not only about the numbers. What was it, 149 and a touchdown?
140.
It's his presence in there. Makes a difference for the whole offense, and it makes a difference for the whole defense. When he's set up 7 yards deep with his hands on his knees, that defense is shitting. I don't know any other word to tell you about it. But some of those plays you see play action to Conklin when Conklin's wide open. Some of those passes when Thielen's wide open, JJ's wide open. When people are wide open, it attributes back to people being worried about keying on Dalvin Cook. So it's not necessarily the touches he gets. He affects the game just by being in there. That's where you get extra use out of Dalvin Cook, in my opinion. Yeah. That's a very humble opinion too.
That's good. I mean, I mean, just some big days all around for the Vikings. And I agree that the Vikings offense is just, it's different. And I think defenses attack it differently with Dalvin Cook out. I don't think they have to respect the run as much, although Alexander Madison's a good back. Dalvin Cook just brings something different to this offense. Do you think that is, however, a crutch for the Vikings at times because they think Dalvin Cook can make something when nothing is generally there, and that's what causes them to get bogged down on these continuous 3 and outs? Is it or is that something completely different?
I think it's a crutch, but not as much as it used to be. I think they're getting away from. I don't think it hurts them as much as it used to.
Okay.
They still go to the well one too many times, but I think they're kind of evolving out of that a little. It feels like it to me a little bit. But they still rely on them a lot.
Okay.
No, I understand what you're saying with Cook potentially being a crutch, but I think we see a lot of situations. I mean, his first 2 carries today, I think he had to start out the game, he had 2 carries for -6 yards or something like that. The Vikings have to do things to kind of open that up a little bit, and that goes back to the level of the aggression or the lack of aggression they show, where people can't necessarily key on Dalvin Cook if they know they have to worry about Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson and even KJ Osborne. Now we keep bringing him up, but he's been producing. So if you can use those guys to kind of open things up a little bit, it makes you less dependent on a guy like Dalvin Cook and can allow a guy like Alexander Madison, if Cook has to sit out for a spell, to be able to be productive in this offense as well. So both sides of the equation sort of need to feed off of each other. And yeah, while Cook might be a little bit of a crutch, like Drew said, I don't think it's quite as big a deal as it used to be.
No, and even more to your point, Thielen had 126 yards on a touchdown today. Justin Jefferson had 80 yards. KJ Osborne had 78 in that big touchdown in overtime to win it. And then Tyler Conklin had 3 catches for 71 yards. Very Rob Gronkowski-ish type performance. I mean, he was just rumbling and bubbling all over the field today. And Cook had 140. Kirk threw for 373. Vikings win 34-28 and head into the bye 3-3. And I'll tell you what, when they started out 0-2, one of the last things I thought I would say is the Vikings are 3-3 heading into the bye, because they just looked like a team that was close to just kind of falling apart. And to their credit, they've rallied. They've gotten 2 big wins. And yeah, they might not have been pretty. And you could make an argument they should have lost those games, but they didn't. They won. And we always say the sign of a good team is a team that can somehow figure out a way to win, especially when they're having a bad day. And for about 2.5 quarters, the Vikings were not having a good day.
Nope.
It's very well said. Very well.
All right.
Yep.
Well, that's we've been going at this long enough. We've probably boring the people to death, so we should probably get out of here.
We don't want to bore you to death. We have a lot of important, exciting announcements. We gave away a prize today. Vikings win. Vikings win. Vikings win. We should probably give away another prize. Matter of fact, the first person that can write in there in the comments how old Chris Gates said he turned an hour ago, you can have a prize. I know none of you. Let's see who was paying attention. Let's see who was paying attention, because Chris Gates said it loud and proud. His age. Who's going to type it in there? Who's going to type it in and get a prize? I'm happy with the win, Ted. It's always going to be frustrating with the Vikings, but you know what? They did a lot of good things today.
They did. Dr. Proto just asked a pretty good question. Does this feel like more of a win than last week? And I would say it does. It's a win. Carolina's a good team. Chris, you said how old did you turn?
I think I've gotten up to about 70 now over the last couple of weeks with these 2 games.
But if we pull your birth certificate, I believe it says 45, correct?
45. That is
Somebody
correct.
guess it?
Dan Hanneman, congratulations. You won a prize.
Oh, Danny!
Vikings Report. Get a hold of Toonces at Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com, and there you go. You got a prize.
Is it pretty obvious I love giving away prizes?
Yeah.
People are paying attention. This is pretty sweet.
All righty.
See how I did that, Chris? I checked to see if they're sleeping or not, because they're sleeping. I wouldn't have got that one.
I did. That was very impressive. You worked that in quite nicely.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. You beat me to it.
I was going to drop that one when you said we were going at it for over an hour, but
Ted, how do you feel about this team being 3-3? I mean,
I
mean, the next month of games. How you seeing this next month of games?
I'm still not convinced they're a contender. I mean, 3-3 is a lot better than 2-4, which would have been a lot better than 1-5. And it's better to win than to lose. Don't get me wrong. I just, with the way they've gotten these last 2 wins against teams, I would argue they should have beaten handily, not on a last second field goal or an overtime. They're going to have to play a lot better to beat this slate of teams they got coming out of the bye. And if they don't, they're going to lose all 4, and it's going to be on to next year. So they better figure something out if they want to beat the likes of Dallas and Baltimore and Green Bay and whoever else they're playing, because those are good football teams. And if they play like this against them, especially, they got a couple road games coming up there. It's not going to be pretty. A couple of those games could get downright ugly.
It's almost like they're going to have to do all the good things they did today and leave the bonehead stuff out to win those games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of feels like that.
And if they don't, they're not going to win. So they got a week to figure it out, though. So the bye's coming at a good time, especially Patrick Peterson getting injured. Hopefully that was just cramps and nothing serious, like they said on the broadcast, and he'll be back because they're going to need him. So with that, Chris, Drew, take us out of here. Give us your parting thoughts. Drew, give us your parting thoughts, and we'll call it a day.
Like you guys have said, a win is a win. It was a lot harder and a lot more difficult than it probably needed to be. But you see how I backtracked there? I didn't want the
He is a veteran of the show. He is a Vikings Report veteran. Isn't he, Ted?
I am.
He caught himself.
I did.
We should call this show Perpetually 12 Years Old with Drew, Ted, and Chris.
Hey,
that's what we should do.
We can do that. It's not. We can whip up a new intro during the live week. It'd be awesome. But, I mean, it's not going to be easy with this team like ever. But this is basically the lot we've chosen for ourselves in this life, and we're just going to have to deal with that going forward. This team is always going to make things difficult, and that's just how things are. So we're 3-3. Like you said, it's better than 2-4, better than 1-5. And it was a pretty exciting win today, so we can't ask for a whole hell of a lot more than that.
Drew?
It just drives you nuts. It makes you furious. It makes me, you know what? It's like a drug. It makes me furious, but I can't wait for the next Vikings game. I can't wait to see what it unveils. Football, and I'm not going to get off of the deep end here. I'm going to say football is a wicked, wicked mistress, Ted Carver. It is.
It is. Yeah, it is.
You know why?
Why?
I'll leave you with one stat. Do you know the Vikings had as many penalties today as that Cincinnati game? But you don't notice it as much when they win, right?
No, it was
football. Yeah. Is a wicked, wicked mistress.
She is.
That's pretty good on the way out. That's all
yeah, it is. All right.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We really love you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. The Vikings need to quit playing scared, quit coaching, and not playing scared, but quit coaching scared. But they got the 3-3. They got the bye. I don't think we're having a live show next week because the Vikings are on the bye. But look for Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, 10 a.m. Central Friday. We're going to do kind of our mid-season review, even though it's like 6 games or whatever. So for Drew, for Chris, for Ruby, who put this whole thing together, once again, thanks so much, Toonses, for doing that. We will see you guys Friday at 10 on Vikings Report with Drew and Ted. Thanks for watching, everybody.